A day after their estranged father's death, Dylan and Tyler inherit $1 million each. Why did their father leave them the money? And why was he working as a janitor, despite having that wealth? The sons would soon find out. The sun had just begun to peek through the curtains when Tyler's phone buzzed with a new email. It was barely dawn, but the message jolted him awake. Rubbing his eyes, he squinted at the screen. The subject line read, "Condolences on the passing of your father." Tyler frowned, his heart skipping a beat. He hadn't seen his father, Walter, since he was a small child. "Dylan, you need to see this," Tyler called out, dialing his brother's number with shaky fingers. Dylan answered sleepily. "Hey, what's up?" he asked. "It's about Dad," Tyler said. "I just got an email saying he passed away. It's from a school where he worked. Can you believe it? I thought he had disappeared forever." Before we continue, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and click the notification bell for more amazing stories. Dylan was silent for a moment. "That's unexpected. What do you want to do?" he asked. "We need to find out more. Maybe go to the school? See what Dad was like? Maybe get some closure," Tyler suggested. "All right, let's meet up and figure this out together," Dylan agreed. "What about Mom? You told her?" "Not yet. Let's first figure out what's going on." "All right." Tyler nodded to himself, feeling a surge of determination. He quickly dressed and grabbed a cup of coffee, his mind racing with questions. Why had their father left them in the first place? Did he ever wish to reconnect with them? "Maybe it's time we finally got some answers," Tyler murmured to himself, heading out of the door. The early morning air was crisp as Tyler drove to meet Dylan, the email's words echoing in his mind. Whatever lay in store, Tyler had a feeling that uncovering their father's past would change their lives forever. Tyler and Dylan arrived at the city under a bright noon sun. They found the school tucked away on a quiet street lined with old maple trees. The school principal, a kindly woman with silver hair, greeted them at the office. "You must be Walter's sons." "I'm Mrs. Collins," she said, extending her hand. "Your father spoke often of you. He was very proud." The brothers exchanged a glance, their surprise evident. "He worked here?" Dylan asked, confused. "Yes, he was our janitor for many years," Mrs. Collins explained. "He was a quiet man, kept to himself, but always did his work diligently." She handed them a business card. "Walter wanted you to have this if anything ever happened to him. It's the contact of a lawyer who has some important information for you." Tyler took the card, feeling a mix of emotions. "Thank you, Mrs. Collins. We didn't even know he was here all this time. I hope you find your answers, boys," the lady said kindly. As they left the school, Dylan looked at Tyler. "Let's see what the lawyer has to say. Maybe Dad left us some answers." Tyler nodded, and the two brothers headed to the lawyer's office. There, the lawyer, Mr. Jacobs, greeted Tyler and Dylan with a solemn nod. "Thank you for coming. I believe your father wanted you to have these." He handed each brother a small key. "These are safety deposit boxes at the local bank." The brothers exchanged bewildered looks. "Safety deposit boxes?" Tyler asked. "Yes," Mr. Jacobs confirmed. "Your father was a very private person. He wanted you to have these after his passing. Did you know our father well? Did he ever tell you why he's doing all of this?" "I'm afraid we had a strictly professional relationship, and your father never discussed anything but work with me. Now, if you excuse me, I have clients waiting outside." Tyler and Dylan left the lawyer's office, confused about who their father had become after he walked out on them. All they knew was that he had died of a heart attack. At the bank, Tyler and Dylan presented the keys. The bank manager led them to a private room where the deposit boxes awaited. With trembling hands, the boys opened the boxes. Inside each was a stack of neatly bundled dollar bills, $1 million each. Tyler stared at the money, speechless. Dylan finally broke the silence. Why would Dad live like a janitor when he had all this money? I have no idea, Tyler admitted. The realization of their father's hidden life overwhelmed them. Tyler and Dylan contacted Mrs. Collins again and talked to a few school staff to learn about Walter. After that, the two sons spent the day walking through the city, visiting the coffee shops, parks, and stores their father frequented, eager to uncover the mystery of their father's past. As they wandered, they met several people who knew Walter. In a small corner cafe, a waitress smiled warmly when they mentioned Walter. Oh, Walter was such a kind soul. Always left a generous tip, always had a kind word, she recounted. Did he ever talk about his past or how he ended up as a janitor? Dylan asked, stirring his coffee slowly. Not much about his past, really. He said he found peace and simplicity after a hectic life, the waitress replied. Next, they stopped at a bookshop where Walter often read books during his breaks. The owner, an elderly man with spectacles, shared his memories. Walter loved to read about different places and cultures. Said it was his way of seeing the world without getting caught up in its troubles again. He mentioned troubles? Tyler probed, curious. Only hints, son. He talked about a time when he had more money than he knew what to do with, and it brought him more grief than happiness, the owner explained. You might want to visit this place, the man scribbled an address. He often went there. Was his favorite cafe. Dylan and Tyler were even more confused as they left the cafe. Everyone liked him, but no one really knew how he got his money or why he chose to live so simply, Dylan said. Tyler nodded, looking at the passing people. Maybe he was trying to make amends for something we don't understand. Or perhaps living simply was his way of finding peace. Let's see what we can find at this cafe, Dylan sighed, holding up the piece of paper the book owner had given them. At the quaint local cafe, Tyler and Dylan sat across from an elderly woman, the cashier, who had been a friend of their father, Walter. As soon as she heard they were looking for Walter, she immediately approached them. She sipped her tea and reminisced. Your father, he always talked about wanting the best for you both. He hoped you'd have better lives than he did. Tyler's interest was piqued. Did he ever mention anything about money or an inheritance? The woman shook her head. No, dear. He never spoke of such things to me. But yes, he often said he missed his family. You know, Ty, Dad lived a simple life so we could have more. Maybe we should use the money to honor him, Dylan said as they left the cafe. Tyler hesitated. I need to know where that money came from. I can't just accept it without understanding. The two brothers, though attracted to the sum, decided to not touch the money until they figured out how their father got the money in the first place. They did tell their mother about everything that had happened, and she was just sad that a man who was a part of her life once was gone. Walter and Tyler took care of Walter's funeral arrangements and bid him goodbye. As months passed after that, the two brothers delved deeper into their father's past, but unfortunately, they didn't find any answers about the source of his wealth. In the end, they gave up. They decided to donate a portion of their money to build a foundation in their father's name while keeping some for themselves. Yes, they were upset with him for walking out on them, but that anger faded when they realized their father had suffered all his life. Life, though, had other plans for Dylan and Tyler. As they prepared for the opening of the foundation in their father's name, Tyler stumbled upon an old, dusty letter tucked away in Walter's janitor's locker. With trembling hands, he opened it and began to read. My dear sons, by the time you read this, I'll be long gone. Cancer, sneaky thing. I didn't find out until I was dying. Your old man kept a lot from you, but now I want you to know everything. The money I'm leaving you, it came from a distant relative, left to me to make sure you both had a good life. I kept it secret out of shame for leaving you in poverty when you were young. I couldn't face the truth or the pain I caused. I ran away from my problems, and for that, I'm deeply sorry. Hope you can forgive your old man someday. I wish I'd reached out to you sooner. Your father, Walter. Tears welled up in Tyler's eyes as he read on, the weight of his father's words sinking in. Walter's letter continued, expressing his love, regrets, and the hope that his sons would forgive him and find happiness in their lives. The brothers sat in silence, absorbing the truth of their father's sacrifices. They realized that the true inheritance was not the money, but the lessons of kindness, humility, and sacrifice that Walter had imparted to them. At that moment, Tyler and Dylan embraced their new path with renewed spirit and hope. They opened the foundation, dedicated to supporting charitable causes in their father's name, knowing that they were honoring his legacy in the most meaningful way. So he did want to reconnect, Tyler said, as the two brothers hugged each other and cried. Tell us what you think about this story and share it with your friends. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and click the notification bell for more amazing stories.